Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is a comparison of the packages that Happier Camper is offering in June of 2024 around the HC1 body type. This was a request from a viewer and hopefully it helps that person as well as you. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Jennifer Preston. My husband Michael and I are the Happier Camper OG. We got our first Happier Camper in 2016. It was an HC1, and today we have an HCT, which we love. This channel is really designed to help people learn more about the Happier Camper rigs. And if you're, oh, my dog is making noise. If you're new to camping or even like thinking like maybe, do I want to buy a camper? Would this be okay for me? Hopefully we're going to be able to help support you in that process as you try to figure that out. Michael and I had never camped before. We bought our Happier Camper in 2016, so we literally dove in off the deep end. And if we can do it, you can do it as well. So yeah, so like and subscribe, and let's get going with a breakdown of these packages. Okay, so this is, again, June of 2024. There are 4 packages on the HC1 body type that Happier Camper is displaying on their website right now, and they have a comparison chart. I'm very quickly going to get us to a comparison of only 2 of these packages because I don't think they're all comparable. So if you're trying to figure out like which one of these is right for me, if you are a small business owner, you want the HC1 Venture. That is a really cool setup. I've seen like coffee trucks and different implementations using that. I always think it would be great at like a farmer's market. I think, yeah, it's so cool. And by the way, like the shape of the rigs is incredibly compelling to people. People used to come over and talk to us all the time when we had an HC1 because they just love the body style. There's something super cute about it. So if I was running a business, I feel like the shape of the rig would be an additional draw to have people come over and check us out. But I don't think this person was asking whether or not they needed to buy a Venture. Now, the Studio, so the HC1 Venture is the business option. The other 3 options are the Breeze, the Classic, and the Studio. So let's just briefly talk about the Studio. It's its own beast, and it's a different construction altogether on the interior. So the injection mold for the HC Studio includes a built-in kitchenette and a wet bath. And I'll insert some pictures here because it looks so cool. The kitchenette has the built-in stovetop, a sink, a drawer, a fridge drawer. All of that is integrated into the kitchenette itself. And then you've got the wet bath, which has the ability to take a shower as well as it has the dry flush toilet. So it's a really, really nice setup. And you get all of that and you can still have a queen size bed, which for my husband and I was really important. Now, again, the Studio wasn't an option when we bought our HC1 back in the day, 2016. But if you are looking for a very integrated experience and you want that kind of extra, I don't know, polish maybe is the right word, I'm not sure, then you definitely want to think about getting that Studio. But that's not, I mean, it's more expensive because you get more with it, but it's a very different set of questions that you need to answer if you're thinking about, well, should I get a Breeze or a Classic? And that's where I'm going to spend my time on this video. I'm using as my resource this comparison chart on the Happier Camper website, but hopefully this will help you understand the nuance of what they're really saying in this comparison. So let's start with the basics, which is that the Breeze base price is $24,950 and the Classic base price is $32,950. So in my brain, I'm thinking, what's worth it, right? $8,000. What am I getting for that differential? I'm going to walk through the 6 categories that Happier Camper has on this comparison chart and break down each one so you understand what's really in play here. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to summarize and give you kind of my take on whether you're price sensitive or whether you're design sensitive. I think that's, interestingly enough, where this all comes down to in the end. So let's talk about the general specifications that they list. It's dry weight, tongue weight, minimum vehicle tow rating, package average weight, tire size, and the adaptive modular interior. Between the Breeze and the Classic, there is nothing substantial that differentiates these 2 rigs. So I'm not even going to talk about it because we don't need to. On the exterior, there are some differences, but they're very, very minor. And let me explain what they are. So the swing back tongue is not available on the Breeze, but it is available on the HC1 Classic. And what that is it's the ability for the tongue of the camper to fold back on itself, and you put a lock on it. It's just one more friction point for someone who wants to steal your camper. I've written an article on this. I'll actually put it in the show notes. But it's not a differentiator in my mind. We had the fold back tongue on the HC1 when we got it in 2016 because it was standard, and I think we used it once. It was not a consideration for us. So I don't think it's a driver for you to go from the Breeze to the Classic. It's at best a nice to have. Now, stabilizers, this one's kind of a weird one for me because I don't understand why just rear and front stabilizers aren't standard on both of these rigs. It's the rear stabilizer only on the Breeze, and on the Classic you get both front and rear stabilizers. You can also upgrade it on the Breeze if you get it. It's just not a big deal. I mean, it's nice to have the front and rear. It does definitely, you'd feel a difference in how stable it feels. But honestly, like just having the back stabilizers and the flywheel down, if you're unhooked or if you're still hooked up to your car, then you're already stable a bit in the front. It's not gonna be a driver for spending an extra $8,000. And then the last one is the front and rear windows. So on the Breeze, there is no front window, but you could add it as an upgrade, and the rear window is sliding. On the Classic, the front is a non-operational window, which means it's just the pane of glass, and then the rear sliding. Now, you can upgrade the front non-operational window to open on the Classic if you want. Now, does any of this matter? So it depends on what you care about. Is it nice to have the additional light in the camper by having the extra window? Sure, that's nice. But you also do have a lot of windows in the rig, and especially with the back hatch open, you're not going to feel like it's not light enough in the camper as a general rule. I liked having both the front and rear window on the HC1 because when I was backing up, I would put the shades up on both of those windows, and it just gave me a straight shot that I could see behind me. So if that matters to you, yeah, you might want to get the upgrade on the Breeze of having the window if you're price sensitive, or it just might be something like, yeah, on the Classic, I want that. Is it important if you're on the Classic, do you want to do the upgrade to have it open? Probably not that important. The question is, the airflow, right? Okay, yes, if you can open it, you can get good airflow. If you've got the hatch open, I don't know, like these are really nuanced kind of questions, which are very personal, but it's just some of the stuff you need to think about. So again, so on the exterior category, we had the swing back tongue, not that big a deal. We had the front and rear windows, a little more nuanced, but you can probably do an upgrade either way, depending on what you want. And then the stabilizers, which I think is just a silly distinction anyway. Okay, now we're getting into some categories where some of this matters a little bit more. And a lot of this is tied into the question of power, so let me kind of walk you through this. So the HVAC category has 4 topics under it: ventilation, cooling, forced air heater, and AC being pre-wired. The AC is pre-wired on both the Classic and the Breeze, so I'm not even going to worry about it. Ventilation, so think there's a hole in the top of your camper. The option on the Breeze is that hole is going to have a vent with an LED light, or on the Classic, you're going to have a 14-inch fan. If I was price sensitive and I wanted to basically have airflow with a fan, I would get a tabletop fan, and I would not consider it a driver for an upgrade to the Classic. Now, this is going to lead pretty quickly into a topic on power, which we're going to get to. Cooling, I think this is a really big one. It's very interesting. So on the HC Breeze, the cooling says standard available only. And what that means is that you must have access to shore power for that AC unit to work. So in our HC1, we had this particular AC unit, and we did not use it very often because the way we camped. We were often at state campgrounds, we didn't have a power hookup, and so it really wasn't very useful to us from that perspective. And when we went to get the HCT, they didn't have the off-grid AC unit available, so it would have been, again, just the standard AC unit. And given the way we camp, we just didn't think that was going to be an option. Now, if you look at the Classic, it has the standard option, which again, shore power, but it also offers an off-grid option available. If I could have gotten that, I would have gotten that in the HCT. And frankly, so I was making those decisions when we lived up in the Northeast. Now we live in Louisiana. Man, do I wish that we had the integrated AC unit. I think it depends on where in the country you live, how you're going to camp, and whether you're going to have access to a shore power outlet. Oops, I think we have a dog going by. Hold on. Okay. But the other consideration, and this is kind of a tough one, but the profile on the standard AC unit is quite high. And if you're thinking about trying to get your rig into your garage, I think having the standard AC profile is going to make it tough for you. That's been the feedback I've seen from a lot of different owners. I know that the off-grid profile is lower. I don't know how much lower, so this is a conversation you want to have with Happier Camper. But if you want that off-grid AC, you are now saying, and I am prepared to commit to the cost associated with the solar installation. So we're going to get to the power question shortly. So that cooling one's a little bit complex, and you really have to kind of think through what it is that you want to get. Now, forced hot air, it's not available on the Breeze. It is an upgrade that's available on the Classic, meaning that $32,950 price is not going to include the cost of integrated heat. It would be an upgrade. It's I think they're still offering the Truma heater. It runs on propane. So from a power source perspective, you don't have to worry about having a solar installation in order to get value out of a heat investment. And the Trum is great. We loved it, and we still do. It really extends the time frame in which you can camp, or at least for us it did. But I will tell you that when we got our HC1, they didn't have a heat option, and they offered the Mr. Buddy heater. And that was perfectly fine for heating the interior of the camper. And again, if you're price sensitive, well, why not just get a Mr. Buddy with the Breeze? You're going to have heat. It's not integrated, but that's okay. It's an option for you to consider. So that's the HVAC category. Let's go now to the kitchenette. And what's interesting to me is the Breeze and the Classic, the options are exactly the same. So there's nothing in this category that would make you say, oh, it's worth it to spend the extra $8,000. Because the kitchenette, the water tank capacity, the stove, and the fridge, all of them are options that are available to either one of them, and they're going to be additional costs no matter what. So your base price, the fact that you're already spending more to get the Classic for the base price, it's not getting you more as with regards to the kitchenette. And then on the bathroom, it's exactly the same thing, except for there's a distinction on the toilet in the way they've written this up, and I'm not quite sure what they mean. I mean, clearly you should talk to Happier Camper, but as I read this, the bathroom, the toilet, and the shower, they're all very similar to the kitchenette. Upgrade options are available, and you're going to pay, like off the menu for each one of those on top of that base price differential. So nothing around the bathroom that I think that would make you upgrade from a Breeze to a Classic. Now, installations, I'm going to do the easy stuff first, and then I'm going to get to power because that's like a little more complicated. So the fiberglass concession bar is not available on the Breeze, but it is available on the Classic. It's a nice to have, in my opinion. It's not critical. If you're only doing weekend camping, it's probably not even worth it to get it full stop. Michael and I had it on the HC1, and we did use it, but it wasn't like something we thought was super important for us to have. So, I think for the venture, it is actually really important. It should be standard, and I think it shows here as included, because it's just a shelf that you can attach to the outside of the camper, and you can display things on it, or you could put your food on it, that you were eating. But again, like you're eating at a picnic table, I don't know that concession bar makes all that much of a difference. iPad table mount and Bluetooth, that's definitely a bell and whistle thing. If you want it, great. If you don't, it's available as an upgrade on both. The bunk bed and the couch is an available upgrade for both the Breeze and the Classic. It's not available on the Studio, and the reason is that the injection mold of the kitchenette, which sits at the front of the camper, that's where the bunk bed gets installed. I think if I had kids and I was looking at either the Breeze or the Classic, I would seriously consider getting that. I think that it's actually a really nice option. I've seen some folks post pictures in our Happier Camper Facebook group, and it just it just really looks like it's working for them. Now, we don't have little kids anymore, but I would probably have bought that just for the option of having a place to put our folded linens during the day. And so I can probably maybe do a separate video about kind of like what's it really like to use the HC1, like what are the real considerations, and whether or not you break down your bed every night is definitely one of them. The awning. So upgrades are available on both the Breeze and the Classic, and I'll just tell you that you should, if you can afford it, get the upgrade to the Fiamma awning. It's definitely a better option. It's sturdier, it's easier to put up, and if you're a solo camper, it definitely is going to be easier to put up. Now let's talk about the solar package and the inverter. Oh boy. Okay, so as I understand it, the camper is going to come with an AGM battery standard for both the Breeze and the Classic. And what that means is when you are plugged into shore power, the battery is going to get charged, and then you can run your lights and some very low voltage stuff on the interior of the camper. If you wanted to plug in your laptop and charge it, you cannot do it based on just having that battery, and that's been charged off of shore power. You're going to need an inverter. And most people get the solar package and the inverter together. And so what that means is that you have a lot more flexibility when you're camping to have power in your rig. It means that you can, go out into the middle of the desert, you can do some boondocking, you don't have any access to any kind of municipal hookups, and you are getting power, and because you have an inverter, you'll have plugs in the camper that will allow you to, to draw on that battery some of the equipment that you're probably traveling with. This is a whole topic in and of itself, particularly power usage. It does not work the way it works at home, guys. Like, you have to manage the draw on your battery. You have to think about how it's getting recharged. You need to be thinking about like the placement of your camper, and is your solar panel getting enough light? Is your solar panel clean, right? Those are all considerations. Most people don't really walk into this fully understanding like that there are behavior things that you need to really think about. But the question of like, since it's an upgrade that's available on both the Breeze and the Classic, in terms of that, is it worth it for me to spend an additional $8,000 to get the Classic? It doesn't matter. It's not even a factor. I think there's real value in having this power option, but I do have an alternative for you to consider. And so when I did this whole assessment, I was really surprised that I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling the value differential between the Breeze and the Classic price points for $8,000. A lot of things or upgrades are available for both, and the categories where there was a clear difference, I just didn't think it was that compelling. So I'll tell you what I would do if I was price sensitive versus if I was thinking about it from more of like a design and an integrated perspective. So price sensitive, you want to get the Breeze. Now that $8,000 differential, you can, for let's call it $4,000, you can get an outstanding portable AC unit. You can get a Mr. Buddy heater, and you can get a Jackery with a solar panel that's going to allow you to be able to charge your devices. You're saving $4,000, and you're getting the capabilities that Happier Camper can offer you if you were going to be, investing in it through them. So I will put those links below because I do think that for people who want that option, there's a very clear path to getting that. But you will be having equipment that is kind of free floating around the camper or the car that you need to bring out and use. When you have a really small rig, that can feel like a hassle. So the AC unit that I'm going to provide you with a link to isn't huge. It's really effective and efficient, but it's something I have to take out and put on top of the countertop, and I have to, set up in order for us to use it. If you don't want that kind of like overhead, you want to get the integrated options. And that's where you start kind of moving up the value chain, and maybe a Classic now starts to make sense. Maybe you want the solar panel and the battery, and maybe you want to upgrade from an AGM to a lithium. And those things, by being integrated into the camper, and again, like that's not a differential between the Breeze and the Classic because it's an upgrade option for both. But this is where like the decisions that you have to take are going to add cost to the rig and the decisions that you have available to you. So it's kind of a nuanced question to ask for yourself, right? Like if you just want to get into this camper, you want a little bit of the like nice stuff and you don't want to spend the $8,000, I'm going to give you a way to do it for a lot less. But if you want to start like thinking about just kind of that integrated, experience, so you're not like pulling things out, like you press a button to turn on your heater as opposed to you get your Mr. Buddy heater out of the cube and you pop in a canister and then you have heat. It's very, very personal. And I think that's what makes this so difficult for people is there's so much flexibility in these rigs. It's one of the things that's awesome, right? You have this adaptive interior, you can move things around, and then people are like, well, how many cubes do I need to make a bed? Well, you don't really need just cubes to make a bed. It's cubes and countertops and then cushions. And, it's awesome to have the flexibility, but I think it can be confusing for people. And that's kind of what I hope we're here to help you with. So please like and subscribe. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, drop comments below and I'll start to tease that out. And if I need to, I'll do a new video for you. Thanks.